So, as Donald Trump and Elon Musk are set to take office just in a little over a week from now, people are asking, is the market going to crash and will the economy crash? That's the subject of today's video, and I have a lot on my mind when I talk with you about these things, sort of what to expect, how to prepare, and where sort of the trouble points are going to be. Now, you have to understand that essentially both Musk and Trump, their most important agenda is basically deregulation, right? So they want to remove government agencies, remove government power, basically go back to the Wild West where, if you've got the money, you can do anything that you want. And in their point of view, right, laws, rules, regulations, it just gets in their way. And I want to have a chat and sort of like how different corporations affect your daily life, and you don't really think about it so much. Just things are changing, but can't quite express like why it's changing. That's what I want to dig into. So let's start with a real basic one. If they get all of their deregulations through and say deregulate banks, that has a deep impact on you. So let's make it really simple. So one could be they could lift a cap on how much a bank can charge you for going over the limit on your checking account, or how much a bank can charge you on if you use your ATM card at a different bank. And you guys know these kind of fees add up. If a fee right now, and I don't know what it is right now in USA, let's say it's $4 to use a non-bank, your bank ATM, and they can raise that to like $6, just for example. That's actually pretty significant to a bank, right? That is a significant increase. Or, let's say an overdraft checking of, fee is like $20 or whatever, and they can raise it to like 50. Again, this is kind of a way that a company can nickel and dime you. And you may not think of it as an aggregate, like as a whole, but over time, you're talking about real money. So that's one example. Another example would be, and again, they're all about deregulation, right? What if under Trump and under Musk, they make it really hard for you to cancel memberships at your gym, cancel membership at Amazon, any number of things, because a lot of companies are known to do this. This is something that Lena Khan and the FTC have been cracking down on. But you could always roll this stuff back because again, Musk and Trump are all about deregulation, like no rules, no laws, let companies do whatever they want. So the thing would be you sign up. It's really easy. They say, hey, free trial, and you sign up. Okay, 7-day free trial, whatever. And then when you go to cancel, it's like really hard to cancel. They'll go through like all these menus and buttons, and sometimes people just give up. Or you try to call the company to cancel, but there's no human there, right? These kind of things. And essentially, the FTC right now, they try to protect you in this stuff and say, hey, if it's easy to sign up, they should make it easy to cancel. But I'm saying these are kind of things that Trump and Musk want to roll back. I'm just talking about your general sort of ways that affect your life. Now you're probably thinking, well, what does this have to do with the market as a whole? What does it have to do with the economy? Basically, if you understand the stock market, it's all about betting on the future, right? You're betting that companies are going to make more money in the future. And so one way is to make money with companies. I just gave the example of the banks, or the example, say the membership stuff, is to nickel and dime consumers, right? That is one way. They're like, well, the economy itself isn't really growing that much, but we got to figure out other ways to make money. Another way, so again, you need corporations to make money and convince Wall Street that, hey, it's worth it to put money into the market and worth it to continue pushing the stock prices up, would be to lessen costs. So we've been talking about with the whole H-1B visa thing. Basically, from Musk's point of view, is like, hey, I need to find as cheap workers as possible to maintain my margins and keep Wall Street happy. And so in that situation, it's import, workers to replace American workers and pay them less, right? We've talked about this. Another issue as well, how else can you, handle costs and sort of keep costs down, is you basically have factories in other countries. A lot of companies do this. You guys know this kind of stuff. And one example is Walmart. I think it's some crazy number, maybe 60%, maybe 70%, something in that range of their products come from China. That's just their business model. Now, I know from sort of the how can you say consumer point of view, you say, well, Walmart's fantastic. I go there, it's cheap prices. What's wrong with cheap prices? I mean, that's perfect, right? And what does this have to do with regulations? Now, remember, Musk and Trump are against unions, right? They don't want any worker protections. They don't want to pay minimum wage. They just aren't really into workers' rights. So for a big company like a Walmart, or you could talk about even like a big company like an Amazon, they make more money if say their workers get hurt, or they make their workers, do dangerous things, and they don't have to pay for their medical costs or whatever, or a worker sues a company, but the company has more power, right? These kind of things. For Musk and the Trump, regulations hurt them, because essentially then that forces the company to take care of the workers. You guys see what I'm saying here? But from a Wall Street perspective, you're like, okay, as long as you keep those margins high, right? As long as you keep pushing those profits higher, 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 we'll be happy. And so there's always a discrepancy of essentially the ownership side and the worker side. Now, I understand it. You may think, well, Chris, like is this a system to where I can never get ahead? Is it impossible? And then no, not necessarily. And this is sort of to understand how our system works. I'd say this several times on the channel, but I just want to repeat it again for those who are new. You're going to have your job, you're going to make your salary, right? You're going to make your wages, and that's from the worker side. But to really get ahead, and just the way our system is, you have to be on the ownership side, right? You want to take ownership in companies. The easiest way essentially is to buy index funds in the S&P 500. So then you're not worrying about picking individual companies. You can pick individual companies, and I'm not against it for people if you want to buy stock in whatever company that you like. I'll just give you examples: be it Apple, be it Progressive, be it Coke, be it Tesla, whatever you want, right? And well, not Tesla, but because I'm not a big fan of Tesla, but just you're free to buy whatever stock in whatever company you want. I have no problem with that. Just the thing is, though, the way that this game is played, oftentimes there's an unfair advantage to people who have information and people who don't, or people who can understand the information and people who can't. And so for the average person, you're usually better off just buying S&P 500 like an index fund, so you're not worrying about, am I getting good information or not, or are insiders abusing me or not. And even if you have good information, I'm just being honest with you guys, sometimes the markets can be irrational or manipulated. So there's a lot of things that make it really difficult to picking stocks. And so that's why essentially, doing an index fund is a way to go. Because as I was saying, yes, you can make money on the worker side, but in today's day and age, much of our retirements, our 401ks, et cetera, are tied to the markets. And you're asking, okay, so is the market going to crash? And I'm saying, in order for the markets to keep going up, they got to, companies got to convince you that you can make more money. And then that goes into the deregulation stuff with the Trumps and Musk, so they want more deregulation. So I know it's complicated. I'm just trying to explain the whole system. Now, let's say that we keep deregulating, right? And we keep, removing any kind of rules. What does that do to society, though? Let's stick on the Walmart example. When a Walmart picks a community to move into, oftentimes they want to find a place that there are no unions, no worker protections, et cetera. And then they, will say, hey, we can get low prices. And on top of that, they pay people very little money. That's just how it is. Walmart's not like a high paying job for the workers. Managers actually can do okay. I'll be honest with you. I think it's like 6-figure salaries or something like that. It's actually not bad, but the general worker, not that great. What happens when a Walmart moves into community is that oftentimes they push many of the mom and pop companies out of business. You guys probably know this kind of stuff, right? It's just hard for local stores to compete because remember, Walmart has the lowest prices, and essentially you have economies of scale. They can also get cheap goods from abroad, etc. When the mom and pops close down, that removes a lot of wealth from the system and in the neighborhood, and also too removes employers, right? And so a person, say, who used to work at a local bakery or local whatever store or local grocer, this kind of thing, they're out of business, and then any of the workers that used to work there now basically all go to work to Walmart for lower wages. It's the same sort of situation with Amazon or any of these big companies. So lower prices may seem good at first, but the ramifications of sort of these big corporations consolidating power, and this would be something under the Trumps and the Musks, because remember, there would be all about, hey, we want more mergers, we want more power in fewer hands. It puts too much control, right, with them. It's the oligarchy, sort of what we're talking about. Or if you don't want to talk about Walmart, we can talk about grocery stores. What if they all merge and become one? They're going to argue that they can be more efficient, et cetera. But I personally like competition. I think that is a good thing for the consumer. But I do understand from the company's point of view, they don't want competition, of course, and they can do whatever they want. I'll give you an example. So in the past, the cereal companies used to have like an agreement on pricing, so they wouldn't compete, right? So that's why your your Kellogg's and your Post would be kind of priced roughly the same, not due to competition, but due to insider agreement. So that was found out, and the government cracked down on that. But these kind of things under Trump and Musk, the government won't crack down on that kind of stuff. And essentially the argument they make to the regular American voter / American people is, hey guys, we remove regulations, we remove laws, and we unleash the potential of the American economy. But what they're really saying is like, we just need to drive profits up for whatever companies, to benefit stockholders, to benefit CEOs, etc. So it doesn't mean that people can't get rich. That's why I mentioned that you want to take ownership in said companies, you want to invest in assets. But unfortunately, and this is just how it is, a lot of people don't participate in the market economy, which guys, I completely understand. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're just like, I don't have any money left over to invest in the market. On top of that, and guys, I never understand. That's why I'm trying to explain sort of how our system works. And it's complicated because there's always winners and losers in the American system. Some people like that kind of system, which I understand, because if you're on the upper end, you can make a heck of a lot of money in the USA. It's 100% true. You can make oodles of cash, right? You can look at Musk. His money's all based on the stock, and you can manipulate the stock, and it can go to the moon, etc. But if you're on the other side of the spectrum, the gap is really, really wide, and you can be, unfortunately, really, really poor. It just, the gap is so wide. When you get that kind of system, and you could look into the Reagan years, these kind of things, you will probably most likely see an increase in crime, especially in this day and age. The reason is that when someone who doesn't have, we'll say, the means or money, just make it really simple, and they can go on social media these days and they see like all of these rich people living these fantastic lives. They see everyone on Instagram, Instagram stars doing really, really awesome, and like, oh, look at all these cars and clothes. They feel kind of sad about their lives. And, there's many reasons why people commit crime, but I'll just say, one reason is because you feel discontent with your situation because you know that someone else is doing better. In the situation of just, for example, let's say you didn't look at social media and you had no idea or no, how can I say, like, no concept of how much money or possessions that other people have, you wouldn't really worry that much. You'd think, well, everything I have right now is fine. I don't need anything more. And that's sort of one of the reasons why it's important to never compare yourself to someone else or worry about what other people have. Just don't worry about other people, because you don't know what the true story is behind their lifestyle, right? They could have everything rented. Everything could be based on debt, etc. They could be stressing out every single day. You don't know. All you know is that they do drive a car. That's true. But you don't know, like, did they inherit the thing? What do they have to do to get said car? Is the car even real? That kind of stuff. But unfortunately, we do live in a social media world, and we do compare ourselves to other people. Like, I mean, a lot of people do. I try to not play that game, and that's why I'm kind of just having this conversation with you. Another thing, just think about this. What about when Elon Musk and saying, hey, Donald Trump, I don't want you to share crash data of my cars, with the general public. How does this affect your daily life? It means that basically he can run experiments with his cars and beta test them, and basically, frankly, kill people and hurt people. And you don't really have any way to stop it because, people chose Musk and the Trump, and they said, oh, about deregulations. And theoretically, yes, maybe that does help Tesla to experiment on people's lives all they want, and they can get all that data, and maybe they'll make their cars better. But at what cost? And that's sort of the kind of theme of this whole thing. Will Musk and Trump crash the economy? Will they crash the markets? I think the best way to think about it, it depends for who, right? For who? If you're on the bottom of the spectrum, right? Things probably aren't going to get better for you under Trump or Musk. I'm just being honest with you. It is a sad state and a sad thing that these kind of people convince you, these billionaires who grew up rich, born with golden spoons, like they convince you that somehow they care about you and understand your problems, when I can tell you they don't. They totally don't. They don't care about you, and nor do they understand your problems. They just think, oh, remove all the rules from companies so that Walmarts can take over and Amazons can take over and Teslas can take over, and we're all going to be rich because we all have Amazon and Tesla stock, right? Like, that's in their point of view. And many people do have these things, right? Many people do have stocks, but a lot of people don't. And so that's sort of, why one would be education. And we talk about, okay, if you want to get rich in America, you got to buy equity. That's just part of it, right? That's just one part of it, right? I'm not against people putting money in real estate. I'm not against it. The one thing I will say about real estate, though, is that don't necessarily think that is a get rich quick scheme. You buy a house or whatever, you got maintenance, you got taxes, these kind of stuff, HOA fees. These things are no joke, right? For people who know, it's no joke. You also have insurance costs. And like, for example, I was reading something recently, it was in California. One of the big insurance companies just starts dropping people's insurance because of forest fires, and essentially they don't want to insure people anymore. And well, sure, you know, save money on having to pay insurance premiums, but the danger and the risk of these days with climate change, be it, you know, water damage or fire damage, is actually very, very real. So that's a real concern if you're a homeowner. You could lose everything if, you know, say your whole fortune is in your house. And this goes back to the Elon Musk and the Trump stuff. If they don't take climate change seriously, there's a lot more homes that are going to be endangered. And I completely understand if you're in that camp in the Trump and Musk world, you don't care about science. You just care about pushing those dollars higher for the stocks, right? Who cares about science? And maybe you have 5 homes, and so that's just one home that you lose or whatever. But for the average person, if you lose your home, you lose everything, right? Or if you lose your home and you don't have insurance to cover it, you really lose everything. I know I talk about a lot. I'm trying my best to explain everything as best as I possibly can. I guess the simplest way to think about it with the Trumps and the Musk coming into office is that the gap between the rich and poor will get bigger, and the power will shift as it already we can see it, right? It's already shifting to the big corporations, and they'll set up a game that makes it really, really hard to get ahead. The only jobs that'll be available, because remember, Musk wants to create an automated world where robots take your job. He claims that you're going to sit on your couch and you're all going to get rich, but it's not going to be like that. If theoretically his robot cars work and theoretically robots replace everyone in the factories, right? This theoretically in their theoretical world, what do you think you're going to do for a job? Right? Do you guys understand? It's just they're thinking about a future without a lot of people in it. That's what they're thinking about, and they're thinking about a future that only benefits the ultra wealthy. That's why I talk with you guys about this stuff all the time, and try to show you sort of all these things. And I understand for a lot of people, the system's extremely complicated, so it's hard to understand. And so that's why I have to do this every day to sort of keep you up to breast of it. And honestly, I read your comments all the time, and someone recently just said, you know, Chris, I'm on Social Security. We have medical costs, etc. I'm really concerned about, you know, the future under Trump. A lot of people say that. I read that stuff, and if you're older, it's very, very difficult because you're talking about entering in a world where if you're on a fixed income and your costs can go up, be it because the hospitals have a monopoly and you can't do anything, or whatever, the you know, the pharma schools have a monopoly, or the Walmarts have a monopoly. Like it hurts communities when you don't have a balanced structure, and that's something that I try to talk about. And so, you know, for me, it's yes, you got to take care of yourself, right? So you want to invest, you want to save, and invest doesn't just mean one thing. It's be doing multiple things. You want to pay off debts, these kind of things. But you also want to have a support system for regular workers. So like I say all the time, I'm all about public transportation, public education, right? Helping with affordable housing by rezoning or removing Wall Street from housing. There's any number of issues that we could talk about, which I bring up all the time, but you have to have an understanding of the whole system to sort of why the way that it is, and why this constant pursuit and profits in the markets sort of make it the way that it is, right? So for order for companies to make money, they try to create a system that makes it so they make more money, but at the end, it actually hurts the overall economy because there's a bottom, you know, group of people, which is frankly the vast majority of us, who don't participate and are part of the billionaire class that own everything. So I, you know, personally want a fair system, and a system that where you have a chance at a happy life. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have money to be happiness, right? Like money isn't the only thing in the world, but let's be honest, you do need money. You need a place to live. So anyway, I just wanted to share these thoughts with you. Hope it makes sense. If you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns, please write in the comments. I'll make more videos that try to share my opinion on this stuff. And I'll catch you on the next video.